Empty, abandoned houses. This is a big problem here in Busan, but one that does actually concern the entire country. At the same time, however, the issue isn't just restricted to specific neighborhoods. They can even pose safety concerns for people who pass by these areas, especially children on their way to school. Slowly but steadily, we are starting to see some changes as the issue gets dealt with on a national level. Increased awareness leads to measures and funding, and the epidemic of empty, abandoned homes is definitely one that calls for nationwide resources. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Wednesday, October 2nd on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well. And welcome to our program. So we are back to the grind. I know that most of us had the day off yesterday. And yes, many of you joined us yesterday for our live broadcast, so thank you for that. Busan City has really been struggling with its empty houses spread across the city. Yes, and after many discussions and coverage of this topic, this issue is starting to see some light, some progress. The city brought up this issue to the central government last month, to the pan-governmental Empty Houses Task Force. So what happened? Well, specifically, Busan City requested a way for the authorities to demolish empty homes that pose risks to the neighborhood, to neighbors, sending the homeowner the bill. So an official from the city says that it takes about 20 million won per home in demolition fees. And these empty homes, especially on hills, that they pose dangers to the surrounding area. Well, apparently the task force was a bit lukewarm on this idea of providing national funding, but the city said that it will make repeated requests. Busan also asked for a legal foundation for local governments to come up with measures to do upkeep on unregistered, unauthorized empty homes, including a budget to deal with these types of structures. So this isn't a problem just in Busan, though. Ulsan City also requested an empty house tax to try to address this problem too. So as the country tries to age and, address these types of issues, and people keep moving away from their hometowns, well, this might turn into a bigger issue, which means that we need to address this now, nip it in the bud, as they say. So that's why we're addressing this topic overall today on our program. All right, for our text topic, for those of you who tuned into our program yesterday, you remember for Cat's Pick, I talked about this 80-year-old woman who was in the running for Miss Universe Korea, right? Ms. Choi yesterday. So today, we're going to talk about what you want to do. What you want to do, or how you want to live your life when you are 80. Maybe you want to think of it kind of like a bucket list, or how you see yourself when you're 80. All right, 누군가는 80세의 미스 유니버스 도전. 너무 멋있지 않아요? 근데 여러분이 80세까지 이루고 싶은 버킷리스트, 혹은 나는 이렇게 늙어가고 싶다 하는 모습은 어떤 걸까요? 너무 궁금합니다. Whether it is something that is very close to what you're doing right now. 지금 모습이랑 비슷할 수도 있고요. 아니면 아니요, 나는 이렇게 살고 싶다. This is how I envision myself. That's what we're talking about today. So let me know. Send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to the YouTube platform, search for BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you subscribe, you log in, you can chat away with our waivers. Also on your phone, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. On Kakao Talk, you can find our channel, search for BEFM, 부산영어방송 as well. The ways you can listen to us, 90.5, 103.3 FM on the radio dial. Like I said, on the YouTube channel, yes, on the platform, we're live streaming right now. You can watch us at your leisure at a different time as well. We're also available on the Patbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together. So what do we have for you? We are talking about Leon coming in for a hashtag fact check. We also have Jennifer with Skills 101. For today's such a special day. And I know it's kind of looking a little gloomy and we might have some rain, but today is the opening of the Busan International Film Festival. So what does that mean? We have a programmer for BIFF. She's going to come in the studio and we are going to talk about BIFF today. And we're going to get the ins and outs. Maybe we can get some special tips on how to really enjoy this year's BIFF. That's coming up in hour number 2. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06. These are today's headlines. Iran launches missile attack on Israel. Iran has launched a wave of missiles on Israeli cities of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa, most of which were intercepted, with Israel calling for consequences. Yoon warns North Korea will face end of regime if it attempts to use nuclear weapons. President Yoon Suk-yeol said that North Korea will face the end of its regime should it attempt to use nuclear weapons, while warning of a resolute and overwhelming response from the South Korea-U.S. alliance. NATO invites South Korea to defense ministers meeting for first time. South Korea and 3 other Indo-Pacific partners of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization known as NATO will attend the upcoming defense ministerial meeting for the first time later this month. SNU Med School approves students' leave of absence against government objections. Seoul National University Medical School approved its students' request for leave of absence for the first semester as the students have been boycotting classes in protest of the government's medical school quota reform. Giants' Victor Reyes sets KBO single season hit record. Victor Reyes of the Lotte Giants set the South Korean baseball record for hits in a season yesterday with a single in the regular season finale. And these are today's headlines. It's time to check in with Haley this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy BIFF Day.
I know. It's so exciting. Hey, so we can't, maybe we can. Well, half the population. We can't all run for Miss Universe Korea, so maybe we can. I don't know.
I don't know. Do they have a height limit? I don't know.
But how do you envision yourself like when you're around 80?
This has become my new life motto.
Yes.
The 2 things you can trust in life are your muscles and your savings.
Oh.
Yeah. As I tell my friends in Korean, 믿을 건 근육과 예적금밖에 없다. 근육 and 예적금.
Okay.
So yeah, I hope to in the next 40 whatever years. I hope to build those 2, both my muscle mass and my
your fortune.
savings and my fortune, my savings, my meager savings. Right? Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to build a fortune, you are in the wrong industry. No offense to the industry.
We love the industry.
We love the industry. It's a labor of love.
But your muscles too.
My muscles too, because just I've realized as my parents get older, and then I go to gym in my apartment with a lot of older people because the neighborhood that I live in, and they definitely have much less pain in their joints if they strength train. And then with the 80-year-old Miss Universe, and then people I see on the media, muscles are so important because as you get older, you focus so much on your joints. But I'm by the way, I'm no medical professional, but I'm realizing, well, guess what holds up your joints?
The muscles.
The muscles.
True.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into our first update. There was an unfortunate death when first responders couldn't find a man who had called 119?
And this is, a terrifying story
Yes.
if you think about it, because we have been addressing the issues where someone is inside the ambulance
Yes.
trying to find emergency rooms. But this is even before that, and that happened in Busan. So back on September 9th, a man who lives alone in Seogu, he had called 119 and basically said something in line of he's sick or he's in pain.
Okay.
And he gave them his address.
Oh.
Right. So they had his address. So the fire authorities tracked his phone and the ambulance went to go retrieve him.
Sure.
However, the map system, the navigation system for the emergency rescue system gave the ambulance wrong directions.
Oh, no.
So the first responders never found the man. And they looked for him, or they looked for that address or the apartment or the office cell for about 10 minutes. And they went back to their base camp. And the man was found dead in his home a week later, which also raises questions as to, was there no follow-up in that week?
What happened? I mean, so many questions.
Right. So what turns out, Busan Fire Agency uses a rescue standard system based on a particular portal site's map application. So they use a commercial map application. And upon this, the fire agency has launched an emergency inspection of the system. It seems there was a glitch. Of course, that'll have to be ironed out. And the fire agency explained that the man didn't answer his phone, presumably because at that point, he was passed out, and they didn't really have a record of him in the system. And because the firefighters and first responders couldn't stay out for an extended period, they made the executive decision to return. So.
This is a tragedy, but it could happen to any one of us.
It
if
could
there's
happen
a glitch.
to anyone. There are so many people who live alone,
Right.
who depend on the 119 system. So yeah, definitely a lot of questions to be addressed.
Indeed. For our next story, many teachers have been leaving their posts for various reasons, but apparently this rate is the highest in Busan?
Unfortunately so. So early retirement rate for teachers is the highest in Busan. So according to the Busan Teachers Labor Union, there were 2,966 teachers in Busan who have left their job. And that highest ratio was from elementary school teachers, followed by middle and high school.
Yes.
But elementary school teachers accounted for over half of these figures. And the numbers have escalated in the last 5 years, even compared to the rest of the country. We're looking at about 3% of the city's teachers having left or retired early.
Really? So what's prompting these, early retirements?
Right. So particularly, we are seeing a fairly high ratio in younger teachers with under 5 years of experience. But what the teachers union pointed to is with veteran teachers. They're also seeing a high ratio of teachers with over 10 years of experience. So these veteran teachers are crucial. They hold key positions in their respective schools, who are seen as actually leading or even running the schools.
Right.
So the union attributed this to the issue that we constantly talk about, the increased violation of the teachers' rights. Parents lodging lawsuits or child abuse allegations against teachers for disciplining their children. And then on top of that, because sometimes superintendents or educational governors, they try to launch these different innovative initiatives, but that also leads to increased workload for the teachers because often there isn't new budgets or new hires to back that up, and also the stiff hierarchy within the schools. However, for the education office, it explained that there's kind of a systematic bias about this because Busan City, unlike other provinces and cities, they accept early retirement requests without preconditions. So that might be why the numbers seem bigger compared to the rest of the country.
I see. Well, the various reasons, though, it's unfortunate when we hear that, teachers are leaving
Especially
the industry.
qualified veteran teachers.
Indeed. All right, for our next issue, let's talk about Busan City residents that we're going to see a slight uptick, in our city gas bills starting next month.
But very slight. So
Okay.
Busan City announced that the retail price for city gas will go up by 2%. So what that means in terms of actual won.
Yes.
This means that for household usage, gas prices will go up by 0.0456 won per megajoule of usage. So translated,
what does that mean?
So what does that mean? What is that even? Translated to your per month, you're going to see an average of 56 won increase. So as I said, minuscule.
Okay.
So they did see the need to raise the prices because of an increase in raw material prices overall globally from the energy price increase, as well as increase in human personnel costs. However, the city's research did show that there should have been an almost 9% increase to match these general upticks. But given the recent hike in prices, Busan City decided to minimize that. And this rate of 2% increase is the smallest rate of increase in the entire country, with other cities like Daegu and Seoul seeing about 10% increases.
I see. I do want to address one issue that we just talked about because we just talked about it. Drift Monkey says, my mother is also a veteran teacher. She quit this week. Global issue, it seems. My mother had the same issues. Parents can't parent anymore. So that's
that's very astute. So parents don't parent and they expect teachers to do that, but then they also kind of, they criticize teachers for doing that. So
that is an issue too, though. All right, for our final story, there is a festival for pet owners.
Pets and pet owners.
Yeah.
So this is the 2024 With Pet Star at Hwamyeong Ecological Park. I think our waivers were talking about how great the Hwamyeong area parks are yesterday. So here we go. It's a chance to check it out this Saturday and Sunday. So this is one of the biggest pet-related events in all of Busan for both pet owners and prospective pet owners.
Yes.
And there will be various talks from veterinarians and trainers. And for the furry friends themselves, there's going to be an agility competition for dogs, pet playgrounds, and a free checkup for your pets. And those are expensive because, they don't have healthcare coverage. So definitely a great chance for you to take advantage of that. Great news, the event is free for everyone from Saturday the 5th and Sunday the 6th between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. once again at the Hwamyeong Ecological Park.
That sounds like a lot of fun. They should have an agility competition for the owners too. Why only for the pets? Let the people run through all the hoops and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Haley. Now back to you, the waivers out there. How do you imagine yourself when you're 80? Do you want to be in a beauty pageant? I don't know. Or maybe you want to be in a muscle competition. Or maybe you imagine yourself in this way. You have a bucket list. Let's hear all about it. Here is your traffic and weather. It is now time for your traffic report. It is looking slow on the Dongso overpass from Bumnukor ramp to the old Kaegum tollgate. It's also backed up on Gwanmun-dero from Bangeum Tunnel to Baekyang Tunnel. As for the weather, you feel it. It's definitely cooler with the current temperature at 17 degrees Celsius. The daytime high will just go up to 24 today under partially cloudy skies. Across the nation, daytime highs will go only up to maybe the lower to mid-20s across the country, with strong winds in parts of the country bringing down the real field temperatures even more. Parts of Gangwon and Gyeongbuk will see some light rain in the afternoon. And I don't know, I have a feeling you might see some showers today, but that's just from me. So I don't know. This is your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
Okay, so my producer just said I'm irresponsible about the weather.
With all your I don't knows.
I don't know. It's because I felt 2 raindrops.
Well, the weather's been so weird.
Exiting the car. I brought my umbrella.
Well, I was on my way down. Like I ran into our like 19th floor lady when I was going out for a run, and she said, "Oh, it's starting to rain. I felt a couple drops. Like you might want to bring an umbrella." So I went back up.
My car said it was going to rain.
Right. I went back up, brought an umbrella.
Yes.
It rained, but it kept raining these like 1 or 2 drops, and I felt so like I didn't want to be the person using an umbrella.
My car said it was going to rain a little.
A tiny bit.
A tiny bit. So that's why I said that. All right. We're going to get into our news. First, we have to address Iran's attack on Israel. What's going on?
Huge news this morning. So Iran has fired dozens, a little under 200, it seems, of ballistic missiles at key military and security targets in Israel.
Right.
So these are very much targeted. So a little bit of background. Iran is at the core, the center of this axis of resistance. It supports the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah and, of course, Palestine's Hamas. And as we know, as we've been talking about for exactly a year almost, Israel has been engaged in this war with Hamas and Hezbollah, with their recent direction, though, for Israel having shifted to Hezbollah, including taking out their longtime leader, Hassan Nasrallah. And that seems to have been kind of the linchpin in the recent series of events.
Yes.
To walk you a little bit further down the timeline, Hamas attacked Israel last year on October 7th. The very next day, Hezbollah launched an attack on Israel to distract Israel's resources and help Hamas. And then fast forward to the past couple of weeks, the situation has escalated with these pager and radio attacks that showed how much Israel has infiltrated into at least the Hezbollah's communication devices.
Indeed.
And this was followed by multiple airstrikes, mostly one on Israel's end that killed Nasrallah. And upon this, Iran has vowed revenge for the attack on their key ally, which seems to have come this morning.
Yes. So how serious is this, these Iranian missile attacks?
So immediately we're hearing that Israel at least says it has intercepted most of the 180 missiles that have come their way.
Okay.
No serious injuries have been reported so far, especially with the civilians, and Israeli authorities have lifted the bomb shelter orders for the Israeli civilians. On the other hand, though, because the ground attacks on from Israel to Lebanon has begun, Israeli attacks on Lebanon, they continue to climb in terms of the death toll. According to reports, as of Tuesday local time, 55 people were killed, over 100 wounded, and the Lebanese Health Ministry says that over 1,000 people have been killed thus far in the past 2 weeks, and about 1 million people in Lebanon, they've been displaced out of their homes.
Right. So the big concern is this. I mean, the bigger picture, the whole entire area of like the Middle East at large, because the question, how far will things escalate? We have Israel, Hamas, Israel, Hezbollah, Israel, Iran. What?
Right,
I mean,
and then behind them is the U.S. So the reason that we do call the Middle East kind of a powder keg is because almost every single player, they are related in one way or another.
Right.
So far, it seems Iran has passed the ball to Israel. The Iranian foreign minister has been reported in saying, at least according to Reuters, that Iran will cease their action if Israel does not conduct further provocations.
Sure.
But will that be the case? Well, as far as we've heard, Israel has warned of consequences, and it has backing from the U.S. And I actually have a clip from the U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan.
Today, Iran launched nearly 200 ballistic missiles towards targets in Israel. The United States military coordinated closely with the Israeli Defense Forces to help defend Israel against this attack. President Biden and Vice President Harris monitored the attack and the response from the White House Situation Room. We are still working with the IDF and the authorities in Israel to assess the impact of the attack. But at this time, and I stress at this time, we do not know of any deaths in Israel. We are tracking the reported death of a Palestinian civilian in Jericho in the West Bank. We do not know of any damage to aircraft or strategic military assets in Israel. In short, based on what we know at this point, this attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective.
So yes, that is the status of what's going on. So thanks for covering this top story, the biggest story right now.
Sure.
All right, so let's move on to some domestic issues right now. We're going to talk about the state of prolonged unemployment right here in Korea, right?
Right. So it turns out 1 in 5 unemployed persons in South Korea, they've been looking for a job for at least 6 months but found no employment. And this is the highest ratio of this happening since the Asian financial crisis back in the late 90s. So according to Statistics Korea, they have put the number of unemployed persons in August at 564,000. But 20% of them have been without a job for at least the past 6 months. And that figure has been on the increase since October of 2020 in peak COVID years. They did hit a brief break back in 2021 when jobs were more active during in the post-pandemic period, but only to go back up this year.
Yes. So what's the reason behind this? People taking so long to be able to find employment?
It's not that we don't have jobs, but it's the kind of jobs that people want. So the quality of jobs versus what is available. So according to, once again, another Statistics of Korea survey, as of August, about a quarter of the people who are unemployed said that they quit their previous jobs because of unhappy, they were not satisfied with their working conditions, including their working hours or wages. And this goes in line once again with the number of people taking time off from work being at the highest ever. So while we do have relatively low unemployment in the 1% range, we do have to question kind of the quality of such hiring.
True. But this prolonged unemployment, especially among the younger generation, poses possible problems for the economy at large overall.
Right, because about half of these prolonged unemployed cases are people in their 20s and 30s.
True.
So once again, it goes back to the quality of jobs available for young people because number one, South Korea's leading industry, semiconductors, it has not had large employment opportunities because it's more of a capital-focused field rather than manpower.
Right.
But on the contrary, especially with the pandemic, we have seen a lot of young people turning to kind of the gig-type jobs like deliveries. So that, though, means they're on unstable income. And that is, again, the cause of weak demand. So people aren't able to spend as much and really stimulate the economy because, well, their paychecks are kind of all over the place. So when we also look at the credit card usage for people in their 20s, their spending on credit cards has gone down or has been going down since last March. At the same time, one Bank of Korea's research showed that for each month that you stay unemployed, the chances of you actually getting a job goes down by 1.5%.
Oh, so not
There's
good.
actually a correlation, right?
The longer you stayed unemployed, the longer you're going to stay unemployed. All right, so for now, though, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about the medical field where we are still seeing assault and harassment against medical staff in emergency rooms.
Not just still seeing, but we're seeing more of these cases. So according to the Health and Welfare Ministry report released by People Power Party lawmaker Kim Mi-ae, the number of violence, assault, or harassment cases experienced by emergency room or ER workers went up from 585 for the entire year of 2021 to over 700 last year. And just in the first half of this year, 360 cases. So if you simply double that, we're going to see a new high. So of all the cases last year, 65% were verbal assault.
Okay.
And that was followed by 220 cases of physical assault and even 51 cases of threats against emergency workers. So, by the way, under the Emergency Medical Act, assault, coercion, threats, or any interference with emergency medical workers, that is forbidden against the law. And ER staff, they can refuse treatment in such cases.
Sure.
However, despite these laws and guidelines, these maltreatment of ER workers, that's only been going up.
And I do wonder why.
I mean, I do understand you get frustrated because I have heard and I've experienced long waits, but that's because you're not, for example, immediately suffering from a heart attack or a stroke, as some people are. So, right.
And there's an order.
Right, there's
it's
an
called
order.
triage, right?
And it's not the order in which you came in.
Exactly. Another key part of emergency medical response, of course, is first responders. But there is also this, systematic personnel shortage issue.
Right. So first responders were never in abundance to begin with. But now we're seeing two new challenges, relatively new. Number one, of course, the ongoing trainee doctor strike. That makes finding any availabilities in ER more difficult than ever. Number two, this goes back to kind of the alternative military service. So men used to be able to serve with the fire agency as a form of their alternative military service in a system that was called 의무소방.
Okay.
But that system was abolished a couple of years ago. So in their place, the fire agency has utilized the military alternative social workers, these 사회 복무요원, to kind of fill these gaps. So previously, these social workers, the alternative military social workers, only played supporting roles in like administrative and training roles.
I see.
However, they're now being dispatched to active duty. So they're going along in the ambulance rides. But according to National Fire Agency's figures released by DP lawmaker Wi Sung-gun, between 2022, when the system was first introduced, to this year, the agency has put over 1,800 social workers to fill that role. And they have been dispatched to over 20,119 medical calls and over 28,000 disaster safety management calls. So they're, once again, actively responding to emergency cases. But here's the thing. Here are a couple problems. Number one, there just aren't enough of these social workers to fill the alternative military service positions that have been left empty.
Sure.
Number two, they don't receive enough training. So under the previous system, the fire agency's alternative service members received a total of 4 weeks of training, 3 of which were directly related to the fire department services. However, the new recruits, the alternative social workers, they get 1 week of training for fire agency related tasks. But the thing is, if they're responding to medical calls and emergencies, disasters, for their safety and for the safety of people whom they're responding to, they definitely need more and in-depth training.
Oh, of course.
So lawmaker Wee, who released these numbers, said that the fire agency is responsible for having known about this personnel shortage, but they haven't taken any action regarding this.
Yes. So that's a snapshot of what's going on right now. So thanks for covering that aspect. Lastly, let's talk about this. Hurricane Helene. This is big news in the United States because this storm has taken quite a toll on the southeastern United States, and it's turning into a major factor for the presidential election.
Right. So Hurricane Helene, it has claimed over 100 lives, with the death toll rising, with some of the worst damage caused in North Carolina. So it's been kind of dubbed like Carolina's Katrina in some aspects. So, of course, not to politicize this, but because of the timing, we're just weeks away from the U.S. presidential elections. It has become political. So candidates are rushing to the sites, or at least they're addressing it very quickly. So just to give you kind of a brief rundown of what's been going on, Donald Trump has headed to Georgia to see the storm's impact, and he has launched a crowdfunding campaign with Make America Great Again MAGA supporters, and they've raised $1 million.
Yes.
At the same time, though, he has used this as an opportunity to launch an attack against the Biden administration. And he has falsely claimed that he spoke to the governor of Georgia, the Republican governor of Georgia, and the governor said that he was unable to get in touch with the president, which is not true. So to politicize this is problematic. At the same time, returning to the election itself, because people are displaced out of their homes. Election polls, the sites have been wiped out from the storms. State election officials are trying to get information about how many people don't have photo IDs, how many people will not be able to vote in their usual spots. So at least for this particular election, voters in the affected areas may be able to declare natural disaster as a reason for not having a valid photo ID for when they go to the polls.
I see. Well, apparently, though, there may be issues with voting And the fact that all these falsehoods,
Right.
exaggerations are going on while people are like fighting for their lives and livelihoods, not a good thing.
Not
a
at
good
all.
look. We'll see what happens with the election coming up real soon. Thank you for the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
And with that, we are ready for our first song. So here it is. This is Touch by Joy.
When I feel the time is right and you're staying by my side, and the love you give to me makes my heart beat. When my fantasies fly away, but my feelings make me stay, I see the fire in your eyes. It makes my heart beat. Do it, we still do it, night and day. You're my all-time lover. Do it, we still do it, in a way, like there is no other. Touch by touch, you're my all-time lover. Skin to skin, come under my cover. When my heart is full of love, it makes me a turtle dove. Love's the game that we play night and day. When our love is clear and bright, it's our way to see the light. There's a fire in our hearts night and day. Do it, we still do it, night and day. You're my all-time love. Do it, we still do it, in a way, like there is no other. Touch by touch, you're my all-time love. Skin to skin, come under my cover. Do it, we still do it, night and day. You're my all-time lover. Do it, we still do it.
Welcome back, everybody. That was a good song, was it not? Yes. Anyhow, we are back to our main story today. Our top story is about empty houses. And although things are happening on a national level, there are still various issues associated with these abandoned homes. And of course, there are immediate issues, things like safety with these structures themselves. However, this impacts commutes for children in nearby schools, which may be an issue that, many people don't really think about. Parents at an elementary school in Seogu say that there is a band of kind of these empty, abandoned homes on the way to school. Some of these buildings have cracks in them, and often these homes are located along these very narrow alleys, putting children in very close proximity to these structures. So there's always this issue of is it safe? Will these older homes, will they crumble? This is why some parents are calling on the city's education office to join in on the response with the local government to get something done. If at the very least to get these homes checked out, if not to get them torn down, if no one's living in them. And hence why we're addressing this issue on our program. Now back to our text topic. We're talking about you when you're 80. The reason why is yesterday for Cat's Pick, I focused on this 80-year-old woman, Ms. Choi, who was, competing in the Miss Universe Korea pageant, because that was her her yearning. That's what she wanted to do. That was her calling. So my question posed to you is, how do you see yourself? What do you want to do when you're 80? What's your bucket list? 자, 여러분이 80세까지 이루고 싶은 bucket list 혹은 나는 이렇게 늙어가고 싶다. 나는 이런 모습으로 80세를 보내고 싶다. That's what we're talking about. So some of you had some very interesting answers. And TJ Yo, formerly known as Tejin Waver, 가족에게 짐이 되지 않게 80세까지 아프거나 투병하고 싶지 않고 늙어가고 싶어요. So he says that he doesn't want to be a burden to his family. He wants to be healthy. So he doesn't want to be burdened to his family. And when he's 80, I think that's a sentiment that kind of probably resonates with a lot of our waivers out there. I agree too. I don't want to be a burden to my loved ones as well. And so we're going to get to Kat's pick for now. So here it is. For today's Kat's pick, I want to focus on somebody named Pete Rose. Have you heard of him? He's very famous because he was an amazing baseball player, but he's also a fallen hero. Let's listen to the clip from ABC News.
Pete Rose finished his career with several MLB records, including one that still stands for the most hits ever, surpassing the legendary Ty Cobb for that record. But he leaves us with a complicated legacy. Nicknamed Charlie Hustle for his tenacity on the field, and then banned for life for betting on his own team.
Pete Rose played in more games and has more at-bats than any player in Major League Baseball history.
He has tied a record set back in 1897.
Amassing an astonishing 4,256 hits.
There it is! That's number 4,192.
A record that still stands today.
You could get 200 hits for 20 consecutive seasons and still be over 200 hits short of what Pete Rose accomplished in his career.
Over 24 seasons, Rose became the Rookie of the Year, an MVP, a 3-time World Series champion, and a 17-time All-Star.
With a real Rose-style rundown.
But for all of his achievements on the field, Pete Rose's legacy remains tarnished by scandal. In 1989, he was banned from baseball for life after an MLB investigation concluded he had in fact bet on games while managing for the Cincinnati Reds. Despite his denial for years, Rose did eventually admit in a 2004 interview with ABC's Charlie Gibson that he had in fact gambled on baseball.
Did you bet on baseball?
Yes, I did, and that was my mistake, not coming clean a lot earlier.
Did you bet on your own team?
Yes.
Did you ever?
I believed in my team. I mean, I knew my team, but it never altered the way I tried to run the game.
The infraction has forever kept Rose from being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Off the field, Rose faced more challenges, including a conviction for tax evasion, which led to time in prison. In his 2019 autobiography, Rose expressed deep regret for his actions, writing, "I'm truly sorry. I loved baseball and played the game the way it should be played, always all out."
So yes, once again, as you heard in that clip, I mean, he has the most hits ever. And many people think that his record may never be broken. However, yes, still a fallen idol, Pete Rose. He passed away at the age of 83. This was Kat's pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for hashtag fact check. We have Leon. Leon, are you not chilly?
I'm a little chilly.
You're so young.
Make the use of this before the weather goes too cold.
I know. It's kind of like
neck.
Right. No, it's lovely.
Like a warm here. It's cold here.
No, we were talking about off air. We have many things in our closet right now that we have to wear at least once.
Yes,
before we put away.
There is no fall now, right?
There is no fall.
Summer and then winter.
The high, I was looking at our weather report. Yesterday was 29. The high is like 23, 24 today.
I know.
It's insane.
It's
chilly.
Super cold today.
Yes, but you look lovely nonetheless.
Thank you.
We're going to dive into our topic.
Yes.
What are we talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about there's this controversial issue of whether dog and cat owners should be taxed moving forward or not.
Oh, sorry.
Cat owner right here, right?
No. Sorry. I said it again.
So today I want to fact check what the supporters are saying and what the proponents are saying in terms of this pet ownership tax. So to start off with a bit of background for our listeners, the government has recently revisited the idea of a pet ownership tax.
Yes.
And this tax was actually initially included in the 2020 Comprehensive Plan for Animal Welfare, but it was dropped back then due to opposition.
Right.
Now it's back on the table as part of the third Comprehensive Plan for Animal Welfare, which is set to be implemented next January. The Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, which oversees the plan, has said it is not currently considering introducing a pet ownership tax.
Yes.
But various policy alternatives are reportedly being discussed by the committee's civilian members.
So maybe you can give us more input, background on how this whole pet ownership tax got into into the discussion foray. How did this come about?
Right. So the idea of pet ownership tax was actually part of President Yoon Suk-yeol's campaign promises. During his 2022 presidential campaign, he had proposed providing medical insurance benefits for pets in exchange for pet ownership tax.
Okay.
But 5 years later, the public debate has stalled. But right now, the issue of lost and found animals, stray dogs and cats, has now grown into a social problem that affects both pet owners and non-pet owners as well. So this is making it quite hard to, at this point, outright reject the idea of taxing pet owners.
Okay, so first let's talk about people who might be against the pet ownership.
Like you, Catherine.
I was like, me? No. Okay, so in all, let's get serious.
Yes.
What's the stance?
Well, those against it argue that, this is just another way for the government to collect more tax revenue.
Sure.
The government recently projected that it will fall nearly 30 trillion won short of this year's budget. And some suspected that, the pet ownership tax is just an attempt to fill that gap. To avoid this suspicion, experts are suggesting that the tax should be purpose tax, which is in Korean 목적세. So unlike general taxes, which can be used for various government purposes, this 목적세, a purpose tax, is legally mandated to be used for a specific cause. In this case, it should be used exclusively for the welfare and protection of pets, and not for general government spending.
Sure.
So if you look at countries like Germany, which has had, this pet ownership tax for years, the tax is collected as a purpose tax there, and it's used strictly for pet-related services, such as animal shelters and animal welfare programs. And, animal protection organizations agree that pet taxes are only effective if they are used for pet welfare, such as care of stray and homeless animals.
Okay, I get it. And some opponents also say it's maybe unfair for pet owners to be paying taxes that fund shelters primarily dealing with maybe stray dogs from maybe rural areas, or like 시골, 들개.
Right. Because that's kind of the majority of the problem that comes from is for the stray dogs in these rural areas.
Yes.
So the stance by the government is that, these tax money will be used to run animal shelters for lost dogs. But opponents do argue that, 80% of stray animals are mixed breeds, and this isn't necessarily to people abandoning their pets. In rural areas, dogs often breed without the owner's knowledge. And according to the 2021 Lost and Stray Animal Analysis Report, by the Animal Freedom League, only 20% of the stray dogs were pure breeds, with mixed breeds accounting for about 80%.
Okay.
So in rural areas, more than half of the stray dogs were under 1 year old, most likely the result of unintentional breeding, not abandonment. So, the opponents are arguing that, why do all pet owners have to share the burden, financial burden,
I see.
and take care of these dogs that are being breeding uncontrollably in these rural areas.
Unintentionally. Yeah,
correct.
yeah. So I do understand that argument as well. But what about those who are in favor of the tax?
Yes.
What's their argument?
So the supporters of the tax argue that, the cost of pet welfare is growing and it needs to be covered by the people who benefit from pet ownership, right?
Okay.
The National Assembly's Legislative Research Service recently reported that local governments with low financial independence are right now struggling to fund animal welfare programs in their districts. So they're saying, separate funding through a pet tax could help alleviate that financial burden.
Okay. So has the number of pets increased so much in recent years to justify this larger budget? That's my question.
Yes. So the number of registered pets in Korea has grown significantly. Not to anyone's surprise, during COVID, a lot of people are getting pets.
True.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture, the number of pets went from 1.34 million in 2018 to 3.28 million in 2023, which is 2.5 times within just 5 years.
Pandemic pet.
Yes. And the government spending has had to rise accordingly.
Yes.
The budget for animal care centers, which rescue and protect stray animals, almost doubled in the 5 years as well. And the number of government animal protection centers also grew from 31 just in 2018 to 71 in 2023. So given the ongoing increase in pet ownership, the cost of pet welfare programs will likely keep growing. So supporters argue that, it only makes sense for pet owners to burden the cost of this publicly run shelters.
I'm curious though, what about elsewhere around the world? How does it work in other countries? Maybe we can compare just a little?
Yes. So if we look at the OECD countries, nearly half have a pet tax or what's called an annual registration fee for pet ownership.
Okay.
Out of the 38 member countries, 17 have some form of pet tax. In Europe, excuse me, 5 of the 14 countries that tax pets have implemented their taxes since the 2000s. And for example, Lithuania introduced its pet tax in 2012 after there was a surge in stray animals, and Slovenia did so in 2005 to encourage responsible ownership.
Sure.
And in Germany, just to talk about the amount of tax, the tax is about 120 euros per year for one dog and 180 euros for 2 dogs in Berlin. Yes, per year.
So it seems that, overall, looking at other OECD countries, pet ownership taxes are quite common.
Yes.
So, the debate on whether such taxes reduce or increase the number of stray pets. This is the final thing I want to look at before I let you go. So, in a nutshell, what would you think? What do you say?
So there are some people who say, pet ownership tax will defer people from getting pets in the first place. Let's be a little more wise because we're going to have to pay tax every year. But then there are other people who say, what about for those who already have pets?
Yes.
If they're hit with this pet ownership tax, won't that make them want to kind of abandoned their pets even more so for those who are struggling to pay for the medical costs.
Yes.
The 사료 food
the
as
feed,
well.
right.
So there's basically two sides to this, and actually I couldn't find good instances to really prove that one is right.
Okay.
So we'll just have to see, where this goes if it's actually implemented.
But thank you for bringing all of this information to our listeners.
Yes.
It's really good to get the discussion ball rolling.
Yes.
So we have better information now, and we can have good discussions with other people around us. So thank you for bringing this in.
Okay, thank you.
All right. This was Leon with #FactCheck. So we're going to call it a day. We'll check in with her next week. All right. We're going to end it with this one. 한 페이지가 될 수 있게 by day 6. So this is to celebrate Yoonjung Waver's son's birthday. Happy birthday. birthday.
솔직히 말할게 많이 기다려왔어. 너도 그랬을 거라 믿어. 오늘이 오길 매일같이 달력을 보면서 솔직히 나에게도 지금 이 순간은 꿈만 같아. 너와 함께라. 오늘을 위해 대만을 준비해봤어. All about you and I. 다른 건 다 제쳐두고 Commit in my hand. 아름다운 청춘의 한 잔 함께 써내려가자. 너의 추억들로 가득 채울래. 아무 걱정도 하지는 마. 나에게 다 맡겨봐. 지금 이 순간이 다시 넘겨볼 수 있는 한 페이지가 될 수 있게. 솔직히 말할게 지금이 오기까지 마냥 순탄하진 않았지. 오늘이 오길 나도 못 받아라 기다렸어. 솔직히 나보다 더 네가 몇 배는 더 힘들었을 거라고 믿어. 오늘을 위해 그저 견뎌줘서 고마워. All about you and I. 다른 건 다 제쳐두고 Commitment in my hand. 아름다운 청춘의 한 잔 함께 써내려가자. 너만큼 추억들로 가득 채울래. 아무 걱정도 하지는 마. 나에게 다 맡겨봐. 지금 이 순간이 다시 넘겨볼 수 있는 한 페이지가 될 수 있게. Want you to come on now and have fun. Want us to have the time of our life.
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다 축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로 하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
부산 글로벌 도시재단 대표이사 전용호입니다. 부산은 대한민국의 굳건한 성장 동력으로서 물류, 금융, 영상, 관광, 문화, 디지털 첨단 산업의 중심지인 글로벌 허브 도시로 나아가고 있습니다. 이를 위해 부산 글로벌 도시재단은 부산을 대표하는 도시 외교의 플랫폼을 지향합니다. 세계 평화도시 부산의 브랜드를 강화하는 부산 UN 위크와 부산 글로벌 도시 포럼, 유라시아 도시 외교단, 개발협력 포럼, 그리고 세계 시민축제는 부산의 소프트 파워의 상징으로 자리매김하고 있습니다. 부산 영어방송도 시민과 함께 영어하기 편한 도시, 세계와 경쟁하며 더불어 살아가는 부산을 만들어가겠습니다. 시민이 행복한 글로벌 허브 도시 부산, 부산 글로벌 도시재단이 함께합니다.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고, 힘차게 돌아가는 경제, 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan. I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. Iran launches missile attack on Israel. Iran has launched a wave of missiles on Israeli cities of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa, most of which were intercepted, says Israel. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the attack focused on Israeli security and military targets and was in response to the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and others. No serious injuries have been reported so far. The Israeli military estimates about 180 missiles have been fired and warned that the attack will have consequences. The attack follows Israel's launch of a ground operation in southern Lebanon targeting Iran-backed Hezbollah. Yoon warns North Korea will face end of regime if it attempts to use nuclear weapons. President Yoon Suk-yeol said that North Korea will face the end of its regime should it attempt to use nuclear weapons, while warning of a resolute and overwhelming response from the South Korea-U.S. alliance. The remarks came during a speech marking the 76th Armed Forces Day, as North Korea has intensified its nuclear threats with the first public disclosure of its uranium enrichment facility last month. South Korea also displayed its most powerful missile, Hyunmoo-5, for the first time in a show of force. NATO invites South Korea to defense ministers meeting for first time. South Korea and 3 other Indo-Pacific partners of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, will attend the upcoming defense ministerial meeting for the first time later this month. The new NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, extended the invitation to South Korea, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, collectively known as IP4, to forge a shared approach to shared challenges. Speaking at a press conference in Brussels, Rutte said NATO is committed to enhancing cooperation with Indo-Pacific partners, particularly as Russia continues to receive support from countries such as China, North Korea, and Iran in its ongoing war in Ukraine. SNU Med School approves students' leave of absence against government objections. Seoul National University Medical School approved its students' request for leave of absence for the first semester, as the students have been boycotting classes in protest of the government's medical school quota reform. This is against the government's stance on approving leaves for this reason. And the Education Ministry issued a statement saying this action was extremely unjust and warned of severe response, including an audit. The association responded positively to the government's proposal of a consultative body for the medical staff supply, although it still stands firm against expanding the medical school admissions quota for 2025. Giants' Victor Reyes sets KBO's single-season hit record. Victor Reyes of the Lotte Giants set the South Korean baseball record for hits in a season yesterday with a single in the regular season finale. Reyes collected his 201st and 202nd hit of his 2024 Korea Baseball Organization or KBO season against the NC Dinos at Changwon NC Park, eclipsing the previous record of 201 hits set by Seo Gon-chang as a member of the Nexon Heroes in 2014. Lotte Giants defeated the Dinos 5-1, ending the regular season in 7th place. And this was News Highlights. It is now time for waglwa글. So Haley's back in the studio.
I am apparently bigger and better. I don't know what's going on.
Adjusting the cameras. So we're going to jump to our first story first. An individual who had previously defected from North Korea apparently tried to go back.
Right, and commandeering an empty bus in order to attempt to do this.
Oh.
So this happened early yesterday morning when a man in his 30s apparently stole a village bus that was parked at a garage in Busan in Paju, of course, Paju being a border city. He then drove this bus on Tongil Bridge and ignored orders from the border guards telling him to stop. He only stopped when the bus crashed into one of the barricades, and he was forced to stop, and he was arrested around 1:30 in the morning yesterday. He was taken to police for questioning, and police investigation revealed that he had actually defected from North Korea about a decade ago.
Oh.
And he had lived in Sinnim-dong in Seoul until recently. So he wasn't drunk or he wasn't intoxicated or under any influence of drugs at the time, but told the police that basically life in South Korea had gotten too hard and he wanted to go back. So he has been booked and the police are questioning him for details on exactly why he tried to redefect.
I see. So that's story number one and very woggle-worthy. All right, next, a middle school teacher has resigned following a test question that was, I guess, kind of widely deemed inappropriate. So I'm so curious as to the question.
This is quite different from what we talked about in hour number 2 of teachers being accused of things. But in this case, it's an interesting decision, let's just say.
Okay.
So a middle school teacher in Miryang in Gyeongnam resigned, and the Gyeongnam Office of Education has had to apologize for this particular exam question. So this was a social studies test subject and had a question on socialization, 사회화, and the essay question gave this prompt. A man, Yun something, who lived in 봉하 village went missing, and he was found 10 years later in a mountain by the village. However, this man, after he returned, he couldn't readjust back into society, even had trouble speaking, and he jumped off the cliff and died.
What?
Yeah. So the question was, explain the process or explain the role of socialization in this scenario, which is just weird, right?
Okay.
On its surface, even as someone who doesn't have, I guess, background into Korean political history, just that question seems highly inappropriate. For middle school, for anyone, really.
Yes.
So the question once again was, what's the role of socialization? Here's another thing. This so-called 봉하 village, I mean, it's a common name, but from Miryang, the 봉하 village in Gyeongnam is about 27 kilometers away. This is where the late former president Roh Moo-hyun took his own life using the same methods described in that essay question. So adding another layer of inappropriate, questionable intent behind this question. So after the exam question made its way online, it went viral. People were very much shocked and appalled. So the school and the education office had received multiple complaints. And well, here's another thing. Of course, maybe we have one teacher who went rogue. But the exam questions are supposed to be reviewed and approved by the vice principal and then the principal. So there are at least two other pairs of eyes that should have been on the question.
There's supposed to be a system in place.
Right.
Yes.
And, as educators, they probably know about what happened. And presumably in their age, they should have.
Right.
Right. But no one filtered out the question. So the teacher who created the question was apparently a contract teacher. So the education office visited the school and looked into the case and said the teacher created an inappropriate question, and this act went against the responsibilities and professionalism required of educators. The education office also said that the school will go through a strict probe over all of its assessment process and evaluations and exams, and the education office, in accordance with the findings, will take strict measures. Once again, the teacher has resigned, but they're looking into the entire system.
Right, but I'm thinking, was this class about socialization and also like suicide prevention? I have so many questions.
It has nothing to do with. So it's making light of suicide.
Suicide for
at
middle
least comes
schoolers.
Off that way, and they are in one of the most high-risk groups. So.
And not just that, we're living in a country where the suicide rates are insanely high.
It is the highest in the world.
Okay, let's move on. Next, a manager of an airline's cabin crew gave a tour of the plane's cockpit to her daughter, which apparently is against the law.
Right, so maybe today's theme, people not doing their jobs. Well, so the airline Jin'e어에 was fined 5 million won for letting an unauthorized person or persons enter the cockpit. And of course, this is where the airplane is controlled, and anyone, of course, there are systems in place, but you press the wrong button and it can be dangerous. So this happened in the LJ 070 flight from Da Nang, Vietnam to Incheon. So the captain had allowed for the husband and the young daughter of the head of the cabin crew come into the cockpit for a tour that lasted about 5 minutes. But an anonymous source had lodged a complaint via the Civic Services 국민신문고 app. Don't know if it's a fellow coworker or a passenger.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The captain and the flight attendant, they knew that unauthorized persons cannot enter the cockpit. But because her daughter was so young, they didn't think it would be a problem.
Is age an excuse?
Apparently, in this case, they thought it was. Well, of course, this is not only against the law, but against company procedures. Here's the weird thing with the law. So the law requires airlines to come up with their own measures to prevent unauthorized personnel from going into the cockpit and also to carry that regulation out. But there is no punishment clause for individuals who break that law.
Okay.
So under the law, the airline is and was penalized with a fine, but there's no ground to penalize the individuals who caused the situation.
Oh.
So in this case, if it is done at all, that disciplinary action will be done through the airline's professional disciplinary panel.
I see.
As opposed to the law. So Seoul's Regional Aviation Administration, which is the governing body over this particular case, has requested that the Land Infrastructure and Transport Ministry make amendments to the law to allow for punishment or penalization of the individuals as well.
I see. But, there are regulations in place, safety issues, and, maybe the intent wasn't bad, but nonetheless, rules need to be followed.
I know, airline and flight culture is far less strict in South Korea as opposed to, say, the U.S.
But still, yes.
People get very sensitive for the right reason about people entering the
cockpit
pilots.
for any reason.
Right.
Yes. All right, lastly, conscript soldiers are allowed to use smartphones during their free time, right, nowadays. But apparently from today, officers will pretty much not be allowed to use iPhones?
And this is very specific to iPhones.
Okay.
So starting today, those entering secure premises on military bases or in military facilities, they must use this a security app developed by the Defense Ministry. So that'll turn off the camera function. Well, that has been in place. But also from now on, it'll also turn off the recording and the data hotspot or the tethering option on smartphones. So this rule and the development of the app came into effect after that scandal that we've covered where a civilian intelligence worker was able to leak or allegedly leak classified information to his Chinese informant using his smartphone and messenger apps for 7 years. And that included names of some espionage personnel who's in, it's like black ops or whose identities are supposed to be undercover.
Yes.
So the army already has that in place and it's going into effect across all armed forces starting today. All right, so here's the problem. I mean, it's reasonable, right? It's secure military premises.
Okay.
Well, the app only works fully on Android phones. Not on iPhones. So on iPhones, it is able to block the camera access, but not the recording function. So the military's conclusion, you can't bring, if you have an iPhone, you cannot bring that onto secure military premises. If you have an Android, it's fine because the app works. By the way, that app, which only kind of works halfway, took 5.1 billion won to develop. And it works halfway. So that means, though, officers who have iPhones pretty much just can't use their phone while at work. Because when we think of secure military premises, we might think of these just very specific sites like situation rooms.
Yes.
But some offices, depending on where your office is, that office is also considered a secure military premise.
Oh.
Right. And then, sometimes, while even maybe you're not supposed to, but your personal phone does get used for work purposes. If you are going to the bathroom and you need to answer a call, that call will be patched through your cell phone. So that poses potential professional issues as well. So some officers complain that it basically forces them to get a new phone or change their phones. Here's the thing. Lower ranked officers, their salary is, very low. Sometimes even lower than conscript soldiers. They say after taxes. After taxes, it comes out to about 1.5 to 1.7 million won per month, which is basically the price of a phone if you're not getting any discounts. So the military said they have never banned the use of certain brands of cell phones, that they're only banning the entry of specific brands whose own manufacturing policies, aka Apple, don't allow for security functions to work. I mean, I know there's a fine line and, security is security, but I'm just going to cite one comment on this article.
Okay, what's that comment?
So if you spent 5.1 billion won on an app that only works on Android, shouldn't we be grilling the person who made the app and not ban the other phones? Astute point.
Touché.
By the way, that 5.1 billion won is taxpayer money.
Yeah, so, that's a little bit from you, a little bit from me, a little bit from everybody. All right, we're going to call it a wrap on the Wa글와글 segment. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
And back to you, the listeners. And by the way, if you're wondering, yes, we're live tomorrow. So here's your updated traffic and weather. It is now 8:17. Here's your updated traffic report. It is looking slow on 청년대교 from Minam intersection to Daeseong intersection. It's also backed up on Bunyeongno from Kumsa ramp to Suyang tunnel. Also, there is congestion on the Dongso overpass from Kamjeon ramp to the old Daegum toll gate. As for the weather, it is cooler. You feel it. It's 18 degrees right now. It's going to go up to just 24 degrees today. We have partially cloudy skies. Looking across the nation, the daytime high will go up to just maybe the mid-20s today across the country, with strong winds in parts of the country, bringing down the real field temperatures even further. Parts of Gangwon and Gyeongbuk will see some light rain in the afternoon. And this was your traffic and weather. And here is Benny's song request, 그랬나 봐 by Kim Hyung-jung.
때 내가 좋아했던 너의 향기 맡으면 혹시 네가 아닐까 고개 돌려 널 찾을 때 우연히 너의 동네 지나갈 때면 어느새 네 얼굴 자꾸 떠오를 때 그랬나봐 나 널 좋아하나봐 하루하루 네 생각만 나는 건 널 보고 싶다고 잘할 수 있다고 용기 내 전화를 걸고 싶었는데 그게 잘 안 돼 바보처럼 우연히 너의 매일을 알게 되면서 스토어 앞에 널 밤새 기다릴 때 그랬나봐 나 널 좋아하나봐 하루하루 네 생각만 나는 건 널 보고 싶다고 잘할 수 있다고 용기 내 전화를 걸고 싶었는데 그게 잘 안 돼 말하지 못한 막막함을 너는 알고 있을까 오랫동안 기다려온 사람 내 앞에 숨 쉬고 있는 걸 그랬나봐 나 널 좋아하나봐 하루하루 네 생각만 나는 건 널 보고 싶다고 잘할 수 있다고 용기 내 전화를 걸고 싶었는데 그게 잘 안 돼 넌 언제나 나를 꿈꾸게 하지 지금보다 더 좋은 남자 되고 싶다고 널 만나러 가는 이 시간 난 연습해 그토록 오랜 시간 가슴 속에 숨겨왔던 말 사랑해
Welcome back, everybody. So in a little bit, we're going to get to BIFF. That's our special interview. But back to you, the listeners, the waivers for right now. We've been talking about this 80-year-old Ms. Choi. We talked about her yesterday for Catspic. She was in the running for Miss Universe Korea. She got picked for, I guess, best dress, but she didn't make it to the final stages. But I mean, just the fact that that was her dream to go out for like Miss Korea and then Miss Universe, and she was in the preliminaries. I think that's amazing. So the question posed to you, the waivers, was this: where do you see yourself when you're 80? What do you want to do? Like, what's your bucket list? And so many of you had some interesting answers. And of course, I wish I had time for all of them, but I'm just going to read just a few. And then, so Drift Monkey, I'd like to have made enough money to be able to travel and relax wherever I like, to be able to be free from the restrictions of money. To just, I guess, to have enough. I like that idea, to have enough, Right. And another response that I do want to get into also, I saw Leslie's response saying that she wants to look like she's 65. Yes. And enjoy her life as well. Age, they say, is relative, but for me, I want to be healthy, not just physically, but healthy mentally and emotionally. And I did post it on our YouTube channel, but I imagine myself when I'm 80, listening or watching Morning Wave in Busan, whoever the host may be at that point, they may not even be born at this point. Maybe they're like a toddler right now. And I'm going to be somewhere on a beach, enjoying my little drink with an umbrella somewhere, the little tiny umbrella, enjoying my golden years. That's what I'm going to be doing. All right. Let's get to our special interview. It's finally here. The 29th Busan International Film Festival, BIFF. It is kicking off today. Do you feel it? The excitement, it's in the air. We've been talking about this for so long. One of Asia's premier, the world's film festivals. And, BIFF really continues to push boundaries and showcase the best of global cinema. And this year's lineup promises plenty of must-sees, from the highly anticipated opening film to exclusive screenings and industry panels. But I hear tickets always in high demand. And the real challenge might be snagging a seat before they're all gone. And I'm sure with the opening screening, probably impossible at this point, right? But let's find out more. We have invited Ms. Park Ka-eun back to the airwaves. She's here in person with us. She is a BIFF programmer, and she's going to hopefully give us the inside scoop. So let's say hi to her. Welcome back to the program.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
I'm so happy to see you. I know we only get to see you maybe like once a year.
Well, once or twice.
Yes,
or
right.
As much as you want.
Yes, but the fact is you are like the person to have in the studio with us right now because you're in the know. You know what's going on behind the scenes because you've been working on it for the majority of the year. So can you please introduce this year's Busan International Film Festivals? What do we need to know about this year?
So this year is our 29th edition. Yes. So we always, I don't know if the audience are familiar with that Aopsu.
The Aopsu.
Yes, talking about
ending in 9.
Yes, the age when 9. You end with 9. So it's got to be difficult, because next year will be the anniversary year. And that means that not only we not only have to prepare for this year, but we also have to, sort of have ideation phase, meetings, and talking about what we are going to do next year as well.
For the big anniversary.
Yes. So I guess that doesn't mean that this year is not anything lesser by any means. We still have more than 200 films from a lot of countries around the world. We have some countries that we haven't had before. We have had, but not as much as we would have liked.
Sure.
And we also have screenings at the Busan Cinema Center, CGV, Lotte, all in Haeundae. And we also have screenings at the KOFIC, Korean Film Council building as well. I think a lot of people don't know that they have a theater inside there. They usually don't operate on a regular basis, but for the film festival, they will be showing films as well. And then we also have our good old Nampodong as well. Yes, and community BIFF events will be held there as well. And at the Bexco, there will be the Asian Contents and Film Market, which is a B2B film market. But we also have a lot of events that might be of interest of B2C as well, because we have an AI conference this year as well.
Sure.
A lot of different events, and at the same time, I think there is the festival Shiwar, which is operated by the Busan City this year for the first time, and it brings together a lot of different cultural events holding at the same time, which I'm not sure whether that's a very good idea or not. But yes, I think a lot of things are happening around the city in Busan, so there will be plenty to enjoy.
So exciting, I have to say. And so, as you just mentioned, 29 years old or anniversary rendition. And so, the evolution, and there were some growing pains, in the past several years, but you have seen this festival grow and evolve over the years. To you as a programmer, maybe you can tell us about some of the really significant points. I mean, by the way, how long have you been a programmer with BIFF?
Well, I didn't start as a programmer.
Okay.
I started as it was sort of a very casual thing. I mean, I was thinking about, maybe doing a short term contract job or something. So that was just me wanting to come to Busan to
And when was
live
this?
by the seaside. And that was 2009.
Okay.
Before, of course, I had been to Busan for the festival and market as well because I was in the film industry.
Sure.
But I never thought I was going to be a part of the festival. And the festival is a different thing, actually, quite different from the business side. I mean, we do also do a lot of business here, but this is more about what we are trying to give to the audience, what we are trying to give to the industry, give back to the industry, support a lot of things that you usually would not do if you were only thinking about the numbers, financial numbers.
Of course.
So I think the first time I was in Busan for the festival and market was in 2005. That was the 10th 5 or 6, I'm not sure, yes. And back then, we had a lot of screenings still in Nampodong. Of course, half of them were, it was split between Nampodong and Haeundae.
Yes.
But that was not really the perfect situation because if you have... if it's wide apart, people are going to, get scattered, and we want people to gather together in a certain place to feel the excitement,
right? To converge,
yes. And I think we got very lucky because the Centum City, two big department stores opened in 2009. And then we got the multiplex cinemas as well together with them. And then we also had the Busan Cinema Center in 2011. And everything went pretty well, for smooth sailing since then, I think. Until we ran into COVID in 2020. But that was not only us. It was a devastating situation for everywhere around the world.
Sure. So now we jump forward to 2024, right? And this is post-COVID. It's been a few years since. But now I feel like everything's kind of like going back to normal, the normalcy year. And we are so excited about the opening ceremony tonight. By the way, can you tell us about the opening ceremony for those of our waivers who are kind of wondering? Of course, we're going to talk about the opening film real soon, the screening. But who's going to be hosting the event?
I think they are pretty... familiar names as well, but they are very much loved as well by fans. We have actors An Jae-hong and Park Bo-young. I think Park Bo-young and An Jae-hong, I think the chemistry will be pretty good because they have never been together in a certain film or a drama series.
Sure.
But, when we announced that they were going to host the ceremony, everybody was saying like, wow, that's the perfect couple chemistry. Yes.
Okay.
So I think a lot of... the audience are very much looking forward to not only the film, but also the ceremony as well, the opening this year.
Yes. And now we want to get to the opening film for this year's festival. Tell us about it. Why was it chosen?
It's a Korean film.
Okay.
Titled Uprising. I think the Korean title is Jeonran. So it is set in the 임진왜란, the 16th century. And it's a tale about class, and we have two protagonists from different class. One is the master, one is the servant. And, in difficult times when everything gets turned upside down, you know, everything changes as well. And this is a story about a friendship, betrayal as well. It's a very well-made period drama. And I think a lot of people, when we announced that it was going to be the opening film, a lot of people focused on the fact that it's a Netflix original, which can be, you know, a little bit awkward when you think, because the point of the festival is to watch films in cinemas.
Sure.
In not only on your TV screen.
Right.
But I think it's a pity if such a good film were to be only, you know, seen on your TV screen. I mean, you could probably have the best home cinema system ever at your home, but still, it wouldn't be as good as watching together in the cinemas. So I hope that you will have a chance to catch up the film. Either on Netflix or in the cinemas.
So this, is this Kang Do-won? He looks so
Kang Do-won
not like Kang Do-won.
Kang Do-won is the servant, actually. And Park Jung-min is the master.
Which we normally
Yes, they're childhood friends. And, you know, it's a very... it sort of goes against the norm that you would anticipate.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting, yes.
And I have to say, like, even a couple years ago, this whole idea of like films that were created for the screen versus like OTT platforms. I mean, many people thought, oh, they're so separate. But as you just said, like this convergence, like certain projects or certain films or that movies that should certainly maybe be seen on the big screen. So you're saying this is definitely one of these.
Oh, it's not only a trend in Korea. I think it's a little bit more sensitive in Korea right now because Korea was so much focused on the theatrical revenue. You know, almost 90% of the revenue came from the cinemas. You know, so you have to make it or break it in the cinemas first, and then you can think about other things.
Yes,
but I think that kind of chain of processing the investment and then to the distribution chain, I think that kind of got broke during the COVID period.
Okay.
And that's the reason why a lot of the industry in general is suffering a lot because of that chain got broken and it's not getting fixed very soon, anytime soon. But at the same time, when you think about the content itself, there's not much difference between a Netflix original and a film that you might see on in your local cinema. So I don't think it's good to, you know, differentiate between one another.
I see.
It's more about what kind of films do you want to see in a certain situation or circumstance. I think the problem with a lot of films that are being released in the cinemas, sometimes, you know, they might not have that kind of appeal to bring the audience out to the cinemas, or they might, you know, the timing of the release might not be the most favorable timing, maybe.
I see.
So I think there are a lot of things that go into consideration when you choose to watch a film or not, when you choose to buy a ticket or not. And the difference is on the platforms, it's more just a matter of pushing your remote control.
Right? A click away.
Yes. So I think that's the big difference. But other than that, as when you look at it as a content, it's just basically the same thing. Especially the case of Uprising, our opening film.
Sure.
All the people, the professionals who are working on this film, the director, the scriptwriter, the producers, they're all people from the film industry.
Sure.
Park Chan-wook is involved in the script writing, the producing. The director Kim Sang-man, he's a veteran in the industry. Actually, you know, everybody has grown up with the film industry, and I don't really see the point of pointing out that it is an OTT original or something like that.
I see. Yeah. So now, so important. I want to know what your pick is for this year. What should we, if you had to choose one, this is it. This is what we should focus on. What would you say?
Does it have to be one or can I say two?
Okay, two. I'll give you two.
Yes. I mean, because I want to talk about two films.
Okay, two films.
Yes. In the open cinema at the outdoor theater.
Yes.
We have 4,000 seats.
Yes.
So naturally, when we are programming for that specific venue, we think about whether the film will have mass appeal,
Of course.
So everybody has to love it. And we have 2 cat movies this year, actually.
Cat movies?
Yes. So it seems like everybody loves cats to watch them at least. And we have a Latvian animation, Flow, which won a lot of awards in animation film festivals around the world. So it's already very much proved. And it has beautiful music, beautiful visuals. And then we also have another animation from Japan, and it's more the kind of traditional Japanese animation that you are used to. It's called Ghost Cat Anzu. And so we have 2 cats. It's not about competing against each other, I think, because, spread the love. Go watch both of them, please, because they are very beautiful. I'm sure that you will not be disappointed in watching the cat movies.
Okay, so we have Flo and Ghost Cat Anzu.
Yes.
We have of the many questions that are coming up on our board. Benny has a question saying, do we expect top stars to visit the opening of this year's BIFF? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming, as usual, there's going to be the red carpet.
Yes, there will be the long, long red carpet, and we have so many people coming. Yes.
They're coming, right? And then we checked the weather report. It's looking okay.
This year, the opening is looking okay.
I know, because we were talking about it off air. We were so nervous.
Yes, we're hoping. I mean, at least we are kind of used to this kind of situation because we've been through this before. So I think if something does happen, we will move a lot of events indoors and still keep up with the festival will go on.
So of the top stars, do we have any inkling of who might be coming?
Let me see. I mean, at least the opening film actors will be there. That's for sure.
Like Kang Dong-won will be there.
Yes. And then we also have, we have so many. I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to let them know because it's usually announced by the artist management company. So I'm not sure. I haven't double checked whether they have announced it or not.
Okay.
If they have, that's for sure.
If
they haven't, I'm not allowed to.
You're not allowed to say. Okay. So we can't spoil.
But you won't be disappointed because a lot of Korean top stars are coming, as well as a lot from Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong, and Japan. I mean, we have so many, coming. Yes.
Okay, so this is coming from Programmer Park. She assures us, yes, there will be. So any tips on how to get tickets? Because I know some of our waivers are really excited, and there's a lot of chatter right now on how to get some tickets.
I every time I hear about this, I feel so sorry because it is tough. I know.
It's tough.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
and
really,
I can really relate to it. And by the time I'm on the show, a lot of tickets are sold out.
I know.
That's something very, very unfortunate. But at the same time, we're really happy that the tickets are getting sold so quickly. But to be honest, we have more than 600 screenings. I mean, we have more than 200 films, and for each film, we have usually around 3 screenings. So we have more than 600 screenings, but about 1/3 of them, around 200 or more screenings, are not really sold out, actually. The problem is that everybody is fighting for the most sought out tickets, and everybody thinks that because that ticket is sold out, there won't be any other tickets as well. For example, the opening, of course, it's already sold out, and you probably will not be able to. Yes, because it's tonight, anyway. But we always have a lot of tickets, especially for Busaners, starting Monday on October 7th, I think. We will have a lot of tickets that you can't easily catch. I mean, even now, I think you will be able to book them. easily online. So please visit ticket.biff.kr and just check out, just in case, you will be able to watch more than you had thought. Yeah.
Okay. So not necessarily the opening film or maybe the closing, but
yes,
there are plenty of films to catch.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I know you're super busy, especially on opening day. And the best of luck, of course, to BIFF, the organization. And thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. This was our special interview for Busan International Film Festival.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is now time for Jennifer's Skills 101. How are you?
It feels like Monday.
I know, but it's Wednesday.
Hump
All
day.
right. It's time for our segment, and we are ready to go. What do you have for us?
Yes. Yesterday, I had one of those moments where I was stuck behind a slow walker who was staring at his phone. And that got me thinking maybe we can talk about some pet peeves.
Oh,
on today's show.
Pet peeve, yes.
Yeah, something that 거슬리는 것들. 네.
I was gonna say, like, how do we describe that pet peeve?
네, 개인적인 불호. 거슬리는 것들. 네.
그거 많죠,
those
많죠.
little things that just seem to get under everyone's skin.
I call them 짜증거리.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all have them. What is your?
I have a couple. I was on the subway. I take the subway like once or twice a week, and I still see them. Like people that still, sit with their legs like really wide open.
Yeah.
It's not as much as before. I think like somebody has told their dad or, grandpa or sometimes women, but mostly men, like about like, 쩍.
Yeah,
nam? Is that what it's called? And then I have to say the other day, like a gentleman, I don't know, he was like rubbing or like just too much, like touching his arm on me, and I was just like,
keep your arms away.
So I stood up finally. I was just like, stop rubbing on my arm.
Annoying,
yeah,
right?
really annoying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Surveys show some of the most common pet peeves include things like loud chewing, people who talk over others, and like I mentioned, the slow walkers. But it's not just about what annoys us. Talking about pet peeves can help us be more mindful of the things we might be doing to annoy others.
Yes.
We don't often think about those things, right?
Oh no, what if I'm annoying somebody else? That's a good point. So, what is something that we might be doing? Like, how about something... Oh, loud chewing.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I think some people do without... It bugs me.
Oh yeah. It drives me crazy. Let's actually
yeah.
something called misophonia.
Oh, misophonia. There's a word,
which is a condition where certain sounds like chewing trigger a strong emotional reaction.
Like, I don't know, the smack, like when you, like, it's so loud. I'm just kind of like, can you chew with your mouth closed? And I've trained everybody in my family. They know, like, chew with your mouth closed. And I don't know, sometimes is it the smacking or the, like, even like the loud slurping? It's just so, to me.
I have misophonia. Yes. I'm extremely sensitive to certain sounds, especially things like loud chewing or repetitive noises like pen clicking and sniffing.
Oh, sniffing.
As well. Yep, it's just I mean, even to my family members, I tell them to like
go blow your nose.
Yeah, go blow your nose. Stop sniffing.
Your poor family. You're like, stop clicking your thing or go blow your nose. You're annoying me.
Yeah.
What's another one?
Interrupting during conversations is a huge one.
Sure.
When someone cuts you off mid-sentence, it can feel like disrespectful or like they are not valuing what you're saying. It's a habit many people don't realize they have, but it can really irritate others. You know those people who say, "Oh, 잠깐만, let me say something," you know?
You know what word I hate? 하지만, 잠깐만,
근데.
아닌데 그게 아니라.
맞아.
그게 아니라.
Sounds so negative as well.
Yes,
right?
yes. Well, what about some more physical things like slow walkers, 길막? That's really annoying.
Yeah.
Like when they're slow.
Slow
Anything else?
walkers in crowded places are a big pet peeve, especially when they are distracted by things like their phone or doing their makeup. It disrupts the flow when people are walking, particularly when you're in a hurry.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not talking about people who have physical challenges, but more about those who are completely observed in their own world or doing something and don't notice they're holding up the crowd. Just being mindful or how you're moving in public places, public spaces can make a big difference.
I think it's kind of like lack of social awareness. Can we call it that?
Yeah.
Just not being aware. Like you're just so into yourself, you're not aware of like the fact that someone or people around you are kind of annoyed at you.
I blame cell phone.
True. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And these small annoyances or pet peeves are often things we could prevent just by being a bit more considerate. Whether it's chewing more quietly, waiting for our turn to speak or just being mindful of where we are walking. It's all about creating a smoother, less irritating environment for everyone.
And I see somebody... Oh, Haley says, people who spit on the ground.
Oh.
Umberto says, people staring.
Oh,
that's one, yeah. They just stare at you. That's
one more
rude.
thing is people talking loudly on their phone so that you can hear everything.
Like, we don't want to know your business. We really don't.
Their favorite song and what,
We really don't want to know your personal business.
Yeah.
So, how can people deal with pet peeves then?
Good question. First, try not to react immediately. Sometimes we get so annoyed and we...
Emotional.
Yeah, emotional. We react. Taking a deep breath and stepping away can help keep things in a more perspective.
Sure.
You can also communicate in non-confrontational way. For example, if someone constantly interrupts, you might say, "I'd like to finish first, if that's okay," with a smile. It's about finding ways to express what bothers you without escalating the situation.
I see. Don't escalate is key. So, don't let it build up, Take a breath.
Yeah, take a breath. And
Tommy says, how about smacking lips while eating? I have one at the office.
Oh.
What? Like when you're eating, like...
chop sound.
Chop sound.
Yeah. It's annoying.
That's annoying.
Here's another thing I've noticed. Sometimes people will mutter things out loud, hoping the other person will hear. Like, why are they so slow? You're like pretending you're whispering, but you're not really whispering. You want people to hear you, right?
Yes.
Why are they so slow? This is so annoying, Yeah. You're talking like... quietly, but you're expecting that the others will hear you. But
that
honestly,
somebody will hear you.
But honestly, that just ends up making you feel more frustrated and angry. And most of the time, the other person either doesn't care or doesn't even hear it. So instead of making this snide comments to yourself, it's often better to either remove yourself from the situation or, if appropriate, express your feelings directly in a clear but calm way.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah. I just walk away usually.
You know what I told my partner several years ago, because like he would mutter things like that while he's driving because he was annoyed at another driver.
Yeah.
It wasn't really cursing, but he would mutter things, but they were not nice things. But I would hear them.
Oh,
but
yes,
they weren't aimed at me. So I finally said, I'm not your emotional driving trash can. That other driver can't hear you. I hear you. And then he realized, he goes, oh, I didn't realize. He goes, okay. And then he stopped doing it.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, they cannot hear you.
They cannot hear you. I hear you. I hear, the little, the utterances. The real, it wasn't even like really bad words, but he was like, 진짜 어이없네. Like, but I'm like, but I hear the, your little utterances, right? So, and he goes, oh, okay. I never thought of it that way. I was like, well, yeah, think. So stop, right?
Yeah,
and then he stopped, right? So, so yeah, let's stop. No point in those passive aggressive comments that person that you're trying to make those comments to.
They don't help.
They don't care. They can't hear you. No point.
Exactly, not at all.
Yes.
Yeah. We all have our pet peeves, but if we are a bit more aware and willing to communicate, we can reduce how much they affect us.
So in your opinion, do you think that it's better not to confront the person that is the culprit of the pet peeve? Is it better just to avoid them, not confront them?
Depends on the relationship. If you can be more direct and confront the person, if you're close enough, you can do that.
Really?
But if it's a stranger you don't know and
you're never going to see them again, just avoid them?
Just ignore.
What if it is a coworker, a colleague, or a friend? Because Tommy says, I have no idea what I can say to him. They're really noisy in the lunch, during the lunch break in the office.
Well, you have two options. First, you can remove yourself and go elsewhere and eat.
Okay. Or
try not to see that person.
Just avoid the situation. Or
you can smile and say, "Oh, is the food really tasty? I can hear the sound."
여기서까지 들리는데요.
그렇게 맛있나요?
But do you think that person would get it? I don't know.
I hope he gets the hint.
We hope.
We hope.
You would hope. Well, very interesting food for thought, but thank you for shedding light onto some pet peeves and possible ways to address them.
Yeah, and we can think about our own pet peeves.
That's true.
Try to be more mindful.
Are we committing pet peeves? Yes.
Hopefully we'll be a little more mindful and maybe even avoid causing a few pet peeves ourselves.
Hopefully. Yeah. All right, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, we'll do. Bye-bye.
All right, time to wrap up for today. Hump day already. So here's our final song. This is Summer's Over by Rialto. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
When you're walking on the cliffs, you can't help thinking of how far down the sea is and what if it should give. I didn't mean to bring you down. Summer's over, seaside town. She says we shouldn't have come so far. This seaside town, summer's over. Empty pubs echo with sounds. Jukebox selections that keep going round and round. And maybe rain is all we need to come and wash the summer rubbish off the beach. Oh, let's just go to sea. I didn't mean to bring you down. Summer's over, seaside town. She says we shouldn't come so far. This seaside town.
Your bridge to the world. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는